wrestling match between the different corners of me, sitting on the West Midlands train, green seat. I look out the window and I see open fields and I wish to walk there and lie there. Open my soul to the nature that surrounds me. The sun kisses my cheek as I stare longingly at the scenery. But I set on my way to more meetings and interviews. Recently now through higher view, the art of communication recently broken because there's no longer time for real conversation. I'm candidate 1524 and I've arrived at the station. My fantasies of being free are temporarily locked in the crevices of my thumb, so for now, my creative streak must go numb as I splurge out rehearsed answers to recruiters, plaster smiles on my face, and network. Because you must do that to climb the ladders in these spaces, and though now they care a bit more about the colours of our faces, I'm still a checkbox, but apparently I've made it. Regardless, I don't really care. I've secured my role now. LinkedIn can get out of my hair. Every day, new feeds of job roles, internships, progressions, and every post to me feels like a lesson, urging me and telling me that you're not good enough. And then you get there and you're expected to be innovative, but their way. Be yourself and make sure it matches what we say. Don't step too far out of line because we don't have time for somebody that's not our sort of person. My personality doesn't match your criteria. I'm so sorry, let me adjust it slightly. Is that better? Yes. But do I want to be in a space that forces me to impose idealized concepts on my face because I want to be sad, I want to be mad, I want to be nervous, I want to be black? But I can't show that. Blackness isn't a trait that will match with their company culture. You're just a staple to fill a quota, so suck it up, take it back, and swallow that black. Here in the office, it's a white man's space, so remember your place. We all have a chair here, but mine is rimmed with gold. We are all heard in this firm, but my words are written in bold. We value diversity and inclusion, but again, it's an illusion because it's run by an old white man again. Because we can't let black people write the rules. There's power in that pen. And so, I leave my creativity at home. My blackness is raw and appreciated. No code switching. My blackness isn't outdated in my space. That was a poem that I wrote actually on my way back to London for an interview, and it kind of explores some of the things that I felt in pursuing my career as a corporate and also as a creative. And so we're going to get into it. But let's throw it back to the beginning. So, as a young person, as a child, I was always very competitive, always strived to be the best, get every role that was possible to get in school. On this picture on the left, that was me when I was about probably 7 years old, and I think you can see that little yellow badge, and that was probably some sort of school council, like prefect role. And so from the very beginning of my life, I was very, very driven. Moving into secondary school now, there's a picture of me and my head teacher on GCSE results day, and to be honest, I don't think the fire in me ever really burnt out, and I always strive to get the best. Even through my secondary school journey, I always was a house captain, a prefect, and eventually became a gold tie. And in the bottom corner, you can see that I'm there as our gold tie team. Essentially, what the gold ties were, we were the senior officers in our secondary school, so that comprised of our head girl, deputy, and head boy. So I was one of the deputy head girls. And to be honest, it had its perks. There was times where I would literally be late for school, but I always had an excuse. Oh, sorry, miss, I had gold tie duties, you know, just in some meeting, and I'd never, ever get a late mark. And then there's me and our head girl, and little story, I'm sure it's not surprising, but I actually wanted to be head girl in my school. And I was really, really disappointed when I didn't get it. But something that she taught me was about the importance of humility as a leader and actually developing your leadership skills. And I think in the role that I had and being able to actually look at her, I definitely learnt that. So shout out to our head girl, Sassari. So from this little snapshot of my life, I'm sure that I seem, you know, a bit boring, a bit obsessed with like my academics and all this stuff, but I did actually enjoy my school life. And to be honest, as much as I don't think I had more than one detention in the entirety of my school life, I definitely still had quite a bit of fun. So in the top left corner, there's me with a friend, and we were performing at a dance theatre called Sadler's Wells in London. And this was an opportunity for us that we got throughout secondary school, which was actually really fun. And those two pictures there, that's when I played Annie in our whole school production. And to be honest, it came about around the same time as the Black Annie came out, so it wasn't too strange to see a black girl playing a girl that was meant to be gingerhead. But anyway. And then I went to parties, which were known as shibs at the time, Lord knows why. And I enjoyed the A1 banter in our sixth form common room. If you went to our school, you know that this was the highlight of sixth form. So I showed you my background, my story, just to show to you that regardless of the more creative and fun side of me, the more corporate, serious side of me, I don't think that my race ever limited me, and I never felt that it did. But one thing that was always in my subconscious, that I was always conscious about, was my name. See, I've purposely put it in very small font was because that was what I had to see when I was in primary school, and they always had to put my name in like size 8 font, and everyone else had at least size 12. See, for me, I don't know why, but this made me so insecure about the length of my name and the fact that my name was foreign and it was different. And I really wanted to have a name that was more normal, like Williams or Jones. But then, moving into secondary school, I think I learned a lot about self-love and my culture. A lot of my friends were Black Nigerian or from African descent, and so we kind of enjoyed being able to talk about our similar experiences. It was really fun. And one thing that kind of united us was the fact that we'd all ask our mums where to put something, and they'd say, on my head. But speaking about culture wasn't always so fun. To be honest, from how tight our trousers were to what is deemed to be an appropriate hairstyle, black girls faced issues that white girls never had to face. And I think this was where some resentment in me slowly began to build. So then I think school became a microcosm for the corporate spheres that I would find myself in, moving forward in my career and at university. And this is not because of the corporate machine that is Warwick, as my friend Abbas calls it, but it's more so because of the intensity of it. Because when I arrived at university, it was kind of like I was seeing firms and internships and everything coming at me at every single corner, especially because I'm in the business school. And I kind of just felt like, what am I doing? Like, I felt like I came to uni to, enjoy myself, obviously get a degree as well, but I didn't know that having to pursue a corporate career would require so much work. And so I knuckled down and I got into it. Sometimes it's a gamble because you really have a spring week deadline and a formative assignment, and you have to decide between the two, and sometimes it was the spring week deadline. I'm so sorry, Dad, but it's a gamble. But then I think that sort of motivation really pushed me forward, and I loved the buzz of doing an application and seeing if I got into the next round, and it just felt like the Hunger Games, and only the strongest of us survived. Or was I actually one of the strongest, or was I just a checkbox? Because sometimes these were some of the thoughts that went around in my head when I had to select mixed Black African heritage on the diversity form of the application. Because what does my blackness incorporate? It's my skin, it's my hair, it's my accent, it's so many attributes about me, and you can look at me and you can say, yes, she's black. But that now you can put into a box, and that box has stereotypes, and that box fits diversity criteria. See, my race being something quantifiable to make a firm seem more marketable is an issue. And then we get on to, if my standout factor was my blackness, then why did I feel like I have to strip layers of it away when I enter corporate space? Let's discuss code switching. See, code switching is defined as switching between two or more varieties of language in conversation. Now, I'm not saying we ditch professionalism, but what I am saying is that there's a very clear difference between my mum's work voice, her white voice, and her normal voice. And even sometimes I find myself slipping into that as well, and it's like, why does that exist when diversity and inclusion is meant to be encouraged? And then we get onto the issue of hair. See, hair has been something that's been an issue for a very long time, and it's only now being talked about. But I remember in secondary school how there was a girl that had to take out her braids because it was deemed an inappropriate hair color. And then we get into corporate space. And you feel like your hair might not be deemed as professional enough. And you feel like you might not be taken as seriously if you have your natural hair out. And so black women adopt the corporate wig. See, this avoids the questions of, why was your hair an afro yesterday, but it's long and straight today? Or, is that your real hair? Or worst of all, can I touch your hair? See, these are the things that define a corporate black woman's experience. But let's move on into the creative. See, the creative is like my outlet. It's my medium of expression. It's completely open, and it's where I can be vulnerable and honest. My two main art forms, I would say, are poetry and dance. So starting with dance, dance is something that allows me to push my body to its limits and push my creativity to its limits. But something that's very clear about dance is the fact that there's a clear lack of BAME people in it, particularly black dancers. And to be honest, most of my friends didn't even know what lyrical or contemporary was until I told them. See, when you're in this field and you're one of the only people that is there, you are now the anomaly. And I could have used that and said, I'm not going to pursue something that I love because I'm not comfortable in this space, because there's no one else like me in this space. But then it becomes my responsibility to actually stay here, because that provides an outlet for somebody else that looks like me who wants to enter this space but can't see themselves there, and now they feel more comfortable. And then moving into poetry. See, poetry is something that I love because I feel like I can be completely honest and completely myself with it. And something that I write about in a blog is the fact that poetry is just as much about the reader and the listener as it is about the writer. Because they take your story, they take what you've said, they internalize it, and they see it from their lens. And I experienced that when I performed at some open mics a couple weeks back. And I just did it for the sake of it, I just did it for bands. And people came up to me after and they were like, that was so good. Do you have a website? Do you have a page? Do you have something? And I had nothing to give back. And so that day, I took my friend Bemi and we went into a room and I recorded my first spoken word actual video and posted it online, and people really enjoyed it. And that's kind of how Cass Speaks was birthed. See, it started off as just a creative outlet, my alter ego, but then I decided, why should I limit myself? I have two clear sides of myself. I'm creative, I'm corporate. Why don't I put them together? See, I took the creativity, the openness, the vulnerability from the creative, and then my hard work, my dedication, my professionalism from the corporate, and merged them together. So I have, on my website, there's poetry and dance, but there's also career skills, interview skills, all the other things that make me me. See, the only thing and the only way that you truly box yourself in is by doing it yourself. And I hope that that goes to show that really and truly, if you want to pursue two careers, you can. And then I know that with diversity and inclusion in corporate spheres, we are still quite a long way to go. But as black women in particular, we need to be the people that are working hard enough to enter those spaces, to make it comfortable for other people to enter, and being unapologetically ourselves. Because hopefully then we can reach genuine diversity. But until then, I know for now that whether I'm in a corporate space, a creative space, or both, my hard work, my dedication, your skills, your talents are greater than any checkbox that anyone can try to put you in. So now I can say that I am proudly Cassylda, Augusto, Rodrigues, Cass Speaks, aka a poetic business owner. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk.